Have you ever wondered why, no matter where you are in the world, from a bustling market in Marrakesh to a high-end boutique in Tokyo, the US dollar is always welcome? Why is this green piece of paper the undisputed king of currencies? It's not just about America's economy. The story of the dollar's dominance is a fascinating tale of history, power, and a system so deeply embedded it touches almost every aspect of our lives. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and uncover the hidden power of money. To understand why the dollar reigns supreme, we need to travel back in time. The year is 1944. World War II is nearing its end, and the world's economic landscape is in ruins. Leaders from 44 Allied nations gathered in a small town in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods. Their goal was monumental: to create a stable, new international economic order. They needed a system to prevent the kind of economic chaos that had contributed to the war in the first place. At that time, the United States was the only major industrial power left standing, physically untouched by the war's devastation. It held over 2/3 of the world's gold reserves. So, the delegates at Bretton Woods made a groundbreaking decision. They agreed to peg their national currencies to the US dollar, which in turn was pegged to gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. This was the birth of the Bretton Woods system. Suddenly, the US dollar wasn't just America's currency. It became the anchor of the global financial system. Every other currency's value was indirectly tied to gold through the dollar. This gave the world the stability it craved and placed the US dollar at the very center of global commerce. For nearly 3 decades, this system worked. But then things started to change. By the late 1960s, the costs of the Vietnam War and domestic spending programs were putting immense pressure on the US economy. Other countries began to worry if the US truly had enough gold to back all the dollars floating around the world. They started exchanging their dollars for gold, draining US reserves. This led to a dramatic moment in 1971 when President Richard Nixon made a shocking announcement. He unilaterally suspended the dollar's convertibility to gold. This event, known as the Nixon shock, effectively ended the Bretton Woods system. The world's currencies were no longer tied to gold. Without the gold backing, why should anyone trust it? But this is where the story takes an unexpected and brilliant turn. In the wake of the Nixon shock, the world entered an era of floating exchange rates. Chaos could have ensued, but another deal, arguably even more important than Bretton Woods, was quietly struck. In the mid-1970s, the US government negotiated a critical agreement with Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter and the de facto leader of OPEC. The deal was simple but ingenious. The US would provide military protection and support to Saudi Arabia. In return, Saudi Arabia would price all of its oil sales exclusively in US dollars, and they would invest their surplus oil profits, their petrodollars, back into US government securities. Soon, other OPEC countries followed suit. This created the petrodollar system. Since every country needs oil, every country now needed US dollars to buy it. This created a massive, constant, and artificial global demand for the dollar, completely independent of the health of the US economy or whether it was backed by gold. The dollar wasn't backed by gold anymore. It was backed by black gold oil. This was the masterstroke that secured the dollar's supremacy for decades to come. So, how does this dominance play out in the real world today? First, the US dollar is the world's primary reserve currency. This means that central banks all over the globe hold vast amounts of dollars as part of their foreign exchange reserves. It's seen as a safe haven asset. When there's a global crisis, investors don't flock to the euro, the yen, or the yuan. They rush to the safety of the US dollar and US government bonds, driving up its value. This gives the United States what former French Finance Minister Valéry Giscard d'Estaing famously called an exorbitant privilege. What is this privilege? Well, because the world is hungry for dollars, the US can simply print more money to pay its debts. It can borrow money much more cheaply than other countries because there's always a ready market for its bonds. Imagine if you could pay for your groceries or your rent just by printing your own money, and everyone would accept it. That's a simplified, but not entirely inaccurate, picture of the advantage the US holds. This allows the US government to run large budget deficits year after year with fewer immediate consequences than other nations would face. Furthermore, most international trade is invoiced in dollars. Even if a company in South Korea is selling goods to a company in Brazil, the transaction is often priced and settled in US dollars. This simplifies international commerce but also reinforces the dollar's central role. If you want to play in the global economic sandbox, you need a big pile of dollars to play with. This also gives the United States immense geopolitical power because most international transactions are cleared through US financial institutions. The US can use this position as a powerful foreign policy tool. It can impose sanctions that effectively cut off countries, companies, or individuals from the global financial system. Think about the sanctions on Iran or North Korea. By restricting their access to the dollar-based system, the US can exert tremendous economic pressure without firing a single shot. This is the hidden power of money being used as a weapon, a concept often called weaponizing the dollar. But the king's reign is not without its challenges. In recent years, we've seen a growing movement towards debt. Countries like China and Russia are actively trying to reduce their dependence on the dollar. They're conducting more trade in their own currencies and building alternative financial systems. For example, China has been promoting its currency, the yuan, for international trade and has created its own cross-border payment system as an alternative to the US-dominated SWIFT network. The BRICS nations Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are also exploring ways to create a new reserve currency to challenge the dollar's supremacy. So, could the dollar's era be coming to an end? It's possible, but it won't happen overnight. The dollar's dominance is built on a massive and complex global infrastructure that's been in place for nearly 80 years. The world's financial plumbing is all dollar-denominated. Switching to a new system would be like trying to change the engine of a jumbo jet while it's in mid-flight. It's incredibly difficult and risky. Moreover, there's no clear successor. The euro has faced its own series of crises. China's yuan is not yet fully convertible, and the government maintains strict capital controls, which makes global investors wary. For a currency to be a true global reserve, it needs more than just a large economy behind it. It needs deep, liquid financial markets, transparency, the rule of law, and most importantly, trust. Right now, despite its flaws, the US dollar ecosystem still enjoys the most trust among global investors. So, what does this all mean for you? The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency affects everything from the price you pay for imported goods to the interest rates on your mortgage. A strong dollar makes imports cheaper for Americans, but makes us exports more expensive for the rest of the world. A weaker dollar does the opposite. The global demand for dollars helps keep us interest rates lower than they otherwise would be, which benefits borrowers. The story of the US dollar is a story of strategic foresight, geopolitical power plays, and a system that has become the bedrock of the modern global economy. From the historic meeting at Bretton Woods to the secret oil deals in the desert. The dollar's journey has been extraordinary. While challenges are mounting and the landscape is shifting, dethroning the king will be a monumental task. The network effects are just too powerful. For the foreseeable future, the world will continue to run on the dollar. The hidden power of this green piece of paper remains one of the most significant forces shaping our world. What do you think? Is the dollar's reign eternal, or will we see a new currency rise to take its place in our lifetime? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this journey through the history of money fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
If you love uncovering the truth, don't forget to subscribe. More hidden history is coming every week, only on History Uncovered.